Before words, before names, there was her. When the world longed to be.
5 million years ago, before words, before names, there was her. 5 million years ago, before words, before names, there was her.
Imagine a world 3.7 million years ago. A world still being born, wild and untamed. Volcanoes painted the horizon with smoke, their fiery hearts beating deep within the earth. Vast, unbroken forests stretched across the continents, and colossal creatures roamed the land, unafraid of time or change. This was their kingdom. And in this ancient kingdom lived Koru, the Giant Ape King. His name was a whisper of fear among every predator, a legend told in hushed tones by the early human tribes scattered across the plains. He was the silent guardian of the valley, a being of immense power, whose shadow alone could still the forest. His home was a throne of granite cliffs, from which he watched the world turn. The sun rise and set, and the stars wheel across the endless night sky. He was a king without a crown, a ruler of a realm that knew only the law of survival. One evening, as the setting sun bathed the plains in a river of liquid gold, a sound reached Koru's ears. It was a sound he had never heard before Sophrajah, and utterly out of place in this world of giants and roars. It was a human cry. Down in the valley, a young woman named Asha lay trapped, a wanderer from a small clan that lived by the river. She had been exploring, drawn by the vibrant colors of the twilight flowers. Now her foot was caught fast beneath a heavy, fallen log. Panic clawed at her as the shadows deepened around her. She struggled, but the log wouldn't budge. Then a new shadow fell over her, vast and impossibly large, blocking out the last of the sun's golden light. Asha froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. She looked up and up into the face of the legend himself, Koru, the Mountain King. His sheer size was breathtaking, a monument of muscle and dark fur. This was it, she thought. This was how her story ended. But Koru didn't roar. He didn't bare his teeth. He looked at her, his deep ancient eyes holding a strange curiosity. Then, with a gentleness that seemed impossible for a creature so mighty, he reached down. His enormous hand, a hand that could shatter rock, carefully gripped the edge of the log. With a soft grunt of effort, he lifted it as if it were a mere twig and set it aside. Asha scrambled free, her mind reeling. She stared at the giant, who simply watched her, his expression unreadable. From that incredible moment, a bond began to form, a connection that defied all logic and language. Asha, driven by a courage she didn't know she possessed, started visiting the cliffs where Koru kept his solitary watch. She would bring him offerings, handfuls of sweet, juicy berries she gathered from the forest floor. In return, Koru would bring her gifts of his own. He would find bright, smooth stones from the riverbed, or colorful feathers dropped by exotic birds, laying them gently at her feet because he thought they were beautiful. They couldn't speak the same language. Her words were a soft melody he didn't understand. His communications were deep rumbles and quiet gestures she learned to interpret, but they didn't need words. They understood each other on a level that went deeper than sound. They would sit together for hours, watching the stars ignite one by one in the dark velvet sky. She would tell him stories of her clan, of the river, of her dreams. He would listen, a silent, attentive guardian. In this wild and unforgiving world, two souls, made so differently by nature, were drawn together by a silent understanding. But the ancient plains were a cruel and dangerous place. The beauty of their bond couldn't erase the ever-present threat of survival. One night, Asha wandered a little farther than usual, gathering rare herbs that grew near a patch of tall, whispering grass. The moon was a sliver in the sky, casting long, dancing shadows. She didn't see the danger until it was almost too late. Hidden in the tall grass, a predator was stalking her. It was Valtora, the dread saber-toothed lion, a beast of nightmare and legend. Its muscular body moved with a fluid, silent grace. Its amber eyes glowed in the darkness with a chilling intensity. Suddenly, a roar shattered the night's tranquility, a sound that shook the very air and vibrated through the ground. Asha spun around. The lion was there, crouched low, its massive fangs, like curved daggers, gleaming in the faint moonlight. Its tail twitched, a sign of the imminent, fatal strike. Asha stumbled backward, her heart seizing with terror. Her voice was a choked cry, a desperate, hopeless call for help into the vast, indifferent darkness. The lion gathered its powerful legs beneath it. It leaped. In that split second, the world exploded. Koru crashed through the undergrowth with a thunderous roar that dwarfed the lion's. He was a force of nature unleashed, an avalanche of fury and protective instinct. He threw his massive body between Asha and the attacking beast, a living wall of defiance. The battle that followed shook the earth. It was a clash of titans, a primal war for dominance. Valtora, fast and lethally sharp, slashed with its saber fangs, aiming for Koru's throat. Koru, a being of brute strength and raw power, grappled with the beast, his muscles trembling with the strain, his dark fur quickly becoming slick with blood. Asha could only watch, her screams lost in the cacophony of snarls and roars. She called his name over and over, but the world had narrowed to just these two titans, locked in a brutal, deadly dance of survival. The ground was torn, the trees around them scarred from the violence of their struggle. Koru fought with a desperation he had never known before. This wasn't a fight for territory or dominance. This was a fight for her. Finally, summoning every last ounce of his colossal strength, Koru let out a final, heaving roar of effort and rage. He lifted the saber-toothed lion and hurled it through the air. Valtora landed with a heavy thud, stunned and broken. With a final, hate-filled snarl, it scrambled to its feet and fled into the shadows, defeated. Silence fell, heavy and absolute. Exhausted, bleeding, and trembling from the immense effort, Koru sank to his knees. The adrenaline faded, leaving only pain and weariness. Asha ran to him, tears streaming down her face. She reached him, her hands shaking as she gently touched his battered face. He was so large, so powerful, yet in that moment, he seemed vulnerable. He didn't pull away. Instead, he lowered his great head, leaning into her soft palms with a sigh of trust and relief. In the profound silence that followed, under the gaze of the ancient moon and the silent stars, a new kind of story was written upon the earth. A story of a beauty who was not afraid of a beast. A story of a beast who chose to protect love over instinct, gentleness over fear. It was a romance carved into the very stone of a world still forming its first legends. A testament to a connection that time itself would never forget. Thank you for watching this story unfold. If you're moved by the tale of Koru and Asha, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories from the dawn of time. See you in the next one.